Yeah. My name is Mannie Young. I'm actually from Accra, Ghana. Um, yeah. So it's nice to be here. Yeah, and I'm actually the co-executive of the Python software community in Accra, Ghana, where we have various initiatives and also user groups around the country. So you can see PyLadies Ghana, we have that. We also have PyData Ghana. We have PyClubs, which is something I will be talking about a little bit today. And we have PyScholars. Those are pipeline projects. I'm a PSF fellow from 2019. I also won the Community Service Award in 2019, and I'm part of the Diversity and Inclusion Work Group. Um, that was since 2020 to now, and I'm a Django individual member as well. Um, and I'm a co-organizer of PyCon Ghana, which we had the last edition, 2022. And also a co-organizer of PyCon Africa and the current chair of PyCon Africa as well. I'll just say this now. Actually, we are having, yeah, thank you. We are having PyCon Africa this year. It's coming back to Accra, Ghana, and that will be in September. And I'll be looking forward to seeing some of us here over there um, coming September from Python, Nigeria. So straight to my talk, more than just code, how community building actually shapes the future of the community. This will be like from some of the experiences I've had as a community lead over there in Ghana. So I'll be talking about the communities past, and not just Ghana, but also the Pythons of the community around the world, the present, and also we'll be touching about the future. You know, they always tell us the youths are the future of tomorrow, right? Yeah. Okay, let me not go that way, but yeah, because for Nigeria and in Africa. Okay. Yeah. So we are here because of Python, right? And we know that Python is an open source software. And from all of us who are here today, or some of us would know that what actually powers open source software happens to be the community. So without a strong community, your open source software won't have the support it needs. Then that then comes down to, okay, so what's a community? Do we have anyone here who can tell us what a community is? Will anyone try? All right, now all of you are yeah, shy. But you are here today as a community, right? So this is the Pythons of the community in Nigeria. So just a little definition here that just says a community is a group of people who live in the same area or they share common interest in something. So we are all here because of one thing, and what's that? What's that? Yeah, Python. The snake? Ah? Oh, the programming language, right? Yeah, so me, from the experience I've had over here in Africa, I don't just say Python, because if you just mention Python, people, they look you like, what is wrong with this? I'll just say, the Python software language. At least that one, you'll be like, the next question to ask you is, why Python? Then that one, you can then move on to continue what you're saying. So this is actually the founder of the Python programming language, Gideon. I believe we all know him. And the software community or the programming language has its roots way back to the early 90s. Some of us were born, some of us were not born, but well, we are all making use of the language today, right? So let's just talk about some of the humble beginnings, right? So we always hear this, that Python is not just a language, it's a community, yeah? And if there's one thing I've heard so much in this Python community is they'll say, I came for the language, but I stayed for the community, right? So that means we have a community that everyone loves to be part of, because if we just come, enter, and the only thing you're hearing is syntax, 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 nah. But when you come and you see the culture and you see how everyone is welcoming, everyone is nice, you'll be like, wow, I love this community. So you'll be looking forward to what? The next meetup. In as much as you find you're coming to learn, but if the environment is not conducive, you know, come back now. You'll just be someone and be like, those people serve. Last time I go, I be no feel them anyhow, right? So one thing that actually, like I said, brought us today actually is the love for the Python programming language. So then there is this quote that says, all great things have small beginnings. So now let's just do a quick dive through. So this happens to be the first programming or Python programming language conference that happened in Europe. So Europe had the first in 2022, and that is like the first logo that it had. Then they had this of 2023. As we are speaking right now, Europython is going on in Czech Republic. And that is where they had that of 2023. So if you look at the difference, you can see there have been changes. This is also the PyCon itself programming language logo, which they had in 2003, sorry. And then we then have US Python, which happened the last one in 2023. They also had PyCon US this year, but I couldn't get a picture, so I just placed that there. Now from US, we'll move to Asia. You have that of PyCon APAC. The first one they had in 2010. Then today, the last in-person one they had in 2019. And I think we'll be having one this year as well. Yeah, and we wouldn't talk about all the various regions if we don't talk about Africa. So this was the first PyCon we had in Accra, Ghana, 2019. Sorry, we can't see the picture very well. But we had close to 400 attendees who came. A lot of people came from Nigeria. So this year, we'll be looking forward to that soon. We all met in Accra, Ghana, where we had a really good time. Then, yes, we won't talk about humble beginnings. It's sad that we can't see the picture very well, but this is PyCon Nigeria 2019. And this year, sorry? Yeah, 2017, early beginnings. And this year, we are here in PyCon Nigeria 2024. Now, to Python programming language. I believe most of us know about this. Now, when you're talking about one of the popular programming language you have around the world today, what language is that? Python. And I think 2022, it was Python. 2023, Python. Let's see how this year moves. But thanks to maybe things like OpenAI and all these other technologies that are also making use of Python, maybe it would continue being one of the most popular programming language. Now, let's talk about the impacts of the community around Python. So the Python, we have so many libraries, we have so many tools, we have so many communities that have been started and all started by community members. So we've all heard of TensorFlow. It's a Python tool. We all heard of Django, the web frame app. We've heard of Pandas, we've heard of NumPy. These are all community members, just like yourself sitting here today, who created all these tools and pushed it out there for other people to also contribute to and also make use of it. We've all heard of Real Python. How many of us here have heard of Fast API? Yeah. Okay, then I think the last one, PyScript. Cool, yeah, okay, that's nice. But these are actually things that were all created by community members. So this means that even you yourself sitting here today, you can look around and be like, this thing I'm doing here, how can I make it a little bit better so that maybe these things I'm doing every day, repetition, I'll just write a script, and before you know, you can make a tool, you can make a library. I think I know of Ryzen from Nigeria that's created a library, data library that today we are using all around. So you yourself sitting here, challenge yourself that, okay, let me go learn something and actually create something that, made in Nigeria, and it will be something that will be used all around the world in the Python software community. Then now when you then go to communities, we've heard of PyLadies. So basically, PyLady is just, if you're a lady that you code in Python, you are a PyLady. It's not anything too hard. You're just a lady who code in Python, right? Then we've heard of Transcode, and we've also heard of Django Girls. I think we had Django Girls during this conference, yeah. So where they all, build something. But these are also diversity communities that people created that are actually making impact as well in the community. Now, I said I'm part of a diversity and inclusion work group, so I'll just touch on part of that. So actually, one of our purposes is to see how we can facilitate the growth of the Python programming language all around the world, just to summarize that, right? So here in Africa, we want to try and have representation. There in Europe, they have representation. A use case I can use now is, for example, the PSF right now, they are actually having the board of directors election, where we'll have Africans who are running for positions this year, where we need, or we have, if we all were actually registered as members of the PSF, we could all actually vote and also have our voices heard where we can okay, okay, let's have our person there to push also our interests. Um, then I think the next thing I would then talk about would then be actually a success story, right? Um, I know most of us here, how many of us here know Abigail? Mishri and me? Yeah, yeah, okay. So I will just talk about Abigail, right? So this was Abigail in 2017. Now, why I'm talking about this, we have some of us here today who may have a similar story. So Abigail actually was a mentee, just like those of us who were mentees of Django Girls. She started as a mentee. She came for a Django Girls workshop. She had a coach. I think that her coach then was Noah Lowe, and he taught her about Django, just the normal things they do in Django Girls, right? Then when they actually had finished, maybe they hosted their web, I think Abigail, we reached out to Abigail and we then spoke to Abigail, but I think we would continue that as we move along. Now, Abigail ended up becoming a mentor that same 2017 where we had Django Girls in another location in Ghana. So this is Abigail from a mentee. She's now a mentor. So you can see there's growth now happening. Good. Now, Abigail from there actually was now given the opportunity to lead Pi Ladies Ghana. So she was the lead, the first lead we had in Pi Ladies Ghana, and she actually did a really great job. Um, then, as a lead now, Abigail today ended up becoming a keynote speaker in conferences around the world. So she spoke in Pi Ladies Conference. She spoke also DjangoCon US 2023. Now, what I'm just trying to say here is, the little way you're starting today, you can end up having that growth and tomorrow find yourself as a keynote speaker speaking somewhere. So just like you looking at me right now, tomorrow you can be a keynote speaker. Yes, you, right? So just start in your little way. You keep on growing. So from a mentee, you end up becoming a mentor, and you find yourself actually now um, working as a big person. And she's not the only one. So today I'm looking for trouble. So now it's sad that these pictures are not clear. But on top there, you will see our Aisha Bello when she was a Django girl attendee as well. And you can see her, the big madam now. Then I think Marlene too, I think if we're also on Twitter a lot and we get to know Marlene too when she started as well. And then Marlene also a keynote speaker around the world today. So everyone, we all have our beginning story, right? So now let's talk about some of the challenges we had, which will now move into what I'm trying to talk about today. So in our community, one of the things we actually had when we actually started was keeping with demand because we started growing and, well, we started moving from one city to the other. So we had our user groups around the country. Then after that, the next thing was how we could ensure diversity. So I think I spoke about Pi Ladies Ghana. So we had our diversity group. Then I think the next one would then be the financial support. But just like the normal code normally say that with every challenge, um, or every challenge you have is an opportunity in disguise. So over there in Ghana, when we started, one thing we noticed was that we had so many students in our community, right? And just like how it is everywhere, I believe, how many of us here are students? Okay, wow, buses. Okay, fine. Yeah, so you would understand what I'm talking about today. So one thing with students is sometimes they are being taught things that um, they find it difficult to even understand because the lecturer will just come buy my handouts, bah, boom, they've left. The next thing, test. The next thing, exam. So over there in Ghana, we noticed that we had a lot of students. So under one of our initiatives we're trying to have was something called Pi Clubs. And there was a time the PSF actually had a call for Python in education. And then we spoke about Pi Clubs, we also spoke about Pi Scholars. But in a summary, what we're trying to do with Pi Clubs was just to have a hub on campus where students can come together, collaborate, and learn Python, right? So maybe, for example, when I'm on campus, which, for example, like in Ghana, the mathematical departments, they do a lot of Python. And I think they are even the ones we've partnered with, so the University of KNUST, um, University of Cape Coast. In their mathematical department, they do a lot of Python. So the students now, they get an opportunity to come together during the weekends, learn the new things that are happening in Python, sharpen their skills, so that who knows, maybe when they go for lecture, they'll be waiting for that lecturer that will come and maybe, you know, give one syntax error, then they'll be like, sir, this is your code won't run. You will understand what I mean by that. You know, in Africa, okay, not everywhere, but you know, some of us, our codes are on the blackboard or on the whiteboard. It's not, except maybe once a while you go to the lab to write your code, but in exam, you're writing on sheet of paper. Well, during my time, you debug and you write everything on your sheet of paper. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do with Pi Clubs. Then we then have this, what we're envisioning in Pi Club, which is, for example, as a year one student, if I'm on campus as a year one student, right, and I join a club, during my process of learning and I move to year two, I then end up, becoming a mentor. So we're trying to just have this loop where if I move to year two, the next thing I can do is I can mentor maybe someone who then comes to year one after I move. And maybe when I then move to year three, I then also continue being a mentor. So what we're trying to have is like a loop where on campus, you also start mentoring people and also in your own capacity becoming a mentor. So we all have this, they say, the more you teach, the better you understand. So there are people who actually, they go and learn to come and teach people. And I think some people find that as the easiest way to learn or to even understand things better. But this is actually something we had in order to make sure Pi Clubs have a sustained plan. Then some of the benefits we are looking at having Pi Clubs on campus is, for example, skill development. So as students, not just being in class, not just taking the notes, but when you meet together, when you're working on projects, when you come, maybe your department, oh, you meet together, let's work on a Django app that can help our departments maybe collect results when they vote or something as simple as that. These are things that you put in your portfolio as a project you've worked on that can help you in the future. Then the next one will be to connect. So you connect with like-minded students. And also the thing there is, we're not just looking at it having just one department. So I know I made mention of the mathematical department, but I believe if today we ask some of us here who are software engineers what you studied in school, you'll be hearing courses as like fishery, geography, biology, chemical engineering. Yeah, today the coding we are doing, or as a software engineer, some of us here, that was not our vision. We are just here because maybe to some, that's the fastest way of making money, or to some, that is the passion. That's my passion. Yeah, so you network with others who are also found in different departments. Then the industrial exposure, yeah. So with these, the Python community is broad, and we have a lot of experts, not just in a locality, but across the world. So in the past, and even up to last week, we've had opportunities where we've had experts, even from the US, speak to some of the students. Some of them are actually mentoring them. And yeah, these are some of the things we also plan on looking at. Then internships, yeah, that's also something we're trying to look at. So during every long vacation, we try to assign interns to students where they work together on projects. And one of the company we've worked on or we work with is called Talent Corp, which actually I work with. But yeah, and we are also in talks with some other companies as well. So just to give us an overview of what we are trying to do with Pi Clubs. And I believe most of the leads are the ones, or as a community builder, you will understand better. So the whole idea is if Mannie today I'm in high school, maybe I'm interested in coding, maybe I get to learn about Python because people say it's a very simple programming language, right? So when I graduate from high school, I then moved to, university. Now, when I moved to the university, I then get to hear about Pi clubs on campus, which I can join and be part of. Now, in that, you've joined the community, right? So now, when you're done with university and you then graduate, you then meet the local community in your locality. So that is the whole idea. So it's one community everywhere. So if I'm in Accra, I'm schooling in Accra, I can be joining the local user group in Accra. And that is the stuff we're trying to look at with the whole from high school to the university and then when you graduate. So in conclusion, we would say that the nucleus of the community is Python, and the reason we are all gathered here today is because of the Python programming language. And a strong community shapes actually the Python programming language future. And the success actually relies on our collective efforts and contributions. Now, that is a very huge keyword. Python is an open source programming language. We rely on the community, and everyone's contribution is what's going to shape the community moving forward. So just like I stated before, we are all looking forward to most of us here working on tools that can make the community better. So community is more than belonging to something. It's about doing something together that makes belonging matter. And that's the last quote I would use to end my talk. Um, just a short announcement, like I said, that PyCon Africa is happening this year. We'll be having it in Accra, Ghana. Next year's edition will be happening in South Africa, and that will be 2025. And that of 2026 will be going on in, I think that's Uganda. So we'll be looking forward to most of us here all submitting talks. Um, for PyCon Africa this year, the call for proposals ended on Monday, but the financial aid is still open. So if you would want to make it, you can hop on the website and quickly go apply for the financial aid if you need a ticket or you need travel grants. Thank you very much for listening to my talk. Like I stated in the beginning, it wasn't a technical talk, so I could see some of us very satisfied, nodding our heads and sleeping. So if you have any question, yeah, I can answer. If not,
Questions. We have enough time for questions, about 3 minutes, which is not enough actually. So, questions. Please ask him questions.
Hey, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. I could relate with almost everything. You talked about, you're talking about community continuity, and something that stood out to me was getting those who you've mentored to continue mentoring, right? So I'm a community manager, and some of the things that I see in my community is that when you start, there's so much energy and everyone just want to do stuff. And you have like this first batch of people you've poured yourself into, you've had other people pour themselves into, and they go out and they become like really good people, right? Some of them outside the country. And the context here is like a student community, yeah? So now you have like a new batch of people. So now there is this trend that I've experienced where the energy sort of decreases. You're getting tired. I mean, you cannot do this on your own forever. So how do you um, keep that energy? Like that's been something I've been trying to, I don't know, work around. I've sort of tried to have like conversations, but I've still not found that it. So what are your suggestions?
yeah, I understand what you're saying, right? And I think something we even in our community are trying to work on is to see how you can have tenure. Because one thing that makes people burn out, especially if they are in a particular position for a long time. So if maybe you have an idea that, okay, I'm coming to this position for 1 year or maybe 2 years. So, okay, let me say 2 years, right? So what we are doing is 2 years, then 1 year under review. So your first year would review the performance you actually, okay, you took up this role. We're going to look, okay, how did you perform? Then if we're going to say, okay, you've done well, continue for the second year, that would work. So when that person is maybe in the second year, you then try to find an assistant lead or someone who would start shadowing the person so that maybe when that person's tenure ends and leaves, you also then have a new lead that also continues. So that means that the new person taking over would still have the zeal to either continue and better what the person he's taking over from, did. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So that's like a strategy we even ourselves are trying to do because at the end of the day, when you notice, if you are in a position for a long time and maybe it's not your community, and maybe you're just volunteering at a point, you won't be interested, with what's happening. So that is just maybe a little advice I'll try to say you should try and work on. Just make it, don't make a position like permanent. If not, people would definitely burn out or stop contributing how they're supposed to contribute.
Thank you so much.
Questions? Comment. Okay.
From a Python Nigeria point of view, we are trying to adopt Python Ghana like standard in our communities and revive the community because we haven't been around for a long time. So right now, the three recognized user groups are Python Uyo, Python Anambra, and Python Bauchi. But we're looking, so if you're a community organizer, we're looking to how can we help, right? What do we need to do to give you that support system? It could be funding, it could be, you need more people, you need somebody to come down and speak at your school, right? So we're looking at having pie clubs in our universities in Nigeria. And I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. And we're looking for who wants to be the first volunteers for that. And we want to we want to support as much as possible. So please come to my talk tomorrow and let's have some more discussion on that.
Yeah. And the last thing will be just like I stated, if it's your thing and you have the vision, fine, you can sustain that. But if you're volunteering for something, some people are volunteering to just climb up the next ladder, and once they're up there, you get.
Time up. Time up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.